God has been trying to deliver this message for the last 72 hours. You are making a bad decision by ignoring it. Open now. Have you ever felt the persistent pull in your heart, that whisper in your soul, or that nudge in your spirit, urging you to pay attention to something important? That feeling, right now, is God Himself trying to reach you. He has been sending you this message for 72 hours, waiting for you to listen. This message is vital. It holds the key to an important decision in your life, one that can change your future. You might not realize the full significance of it yet, but God is trying to break through the distractions, the noise, and the confusion surrounding you. He knows the choice you're about to make, and He's warning you. This decision could lead you away from His perfect plan for your life. It's been 3 days, and this divine message has finally reached you. Don't ignore it now. Open your heart, open this message, and let God speak to you before it's too late. The importance of divine timing. Why this message took 72 hours to reach you. We often underestimate the power of divine timing. God's messages to us are never late, even when it seems like the world is spinning too fast, or we're too overwhelmed to listen. For the past 72 hours, God has been reaching out to you, trying to warn you about something crucial in your life, a decision you are about to make that could alter your path. It might seem small, or even insignificant at first glance, but to God, it matters greatly. Why 72 hours? In the Bible, significant events often unfold over 3 days. Jesus Himself was in the grave for 3 days before He rose from the dead, signaling a complete transformation and a new beginning for humanity. In this case, the past 3 days have been a period of waiting, a time where God has been trying to get your attention. Now, on this 3rd day, He is urging you, do not make this decision lightly. Open your heart to my guidance, if God has waited 72 hours to deliver this message. It means that the decision you're about to make is critical in His eyes. He wants to intervene, to guide you, and to redirect your steps if you're heading in the wrong direction. The warning: you are about to make a bad decision. God knows what you cannot see. He sees the future, the outcome of your choices, and the consequences of every action you take. And right now, He is trying to protect you from a decision that is not aligned with His will. This isn't a small mistake, this is a major life choice that could lead you away from His purpose for you. It could be a relationship you're about to pursue, a business deal you're considering, or even a move you're thinking about making. Whatever it is, God is saying stop. Before you proceed, He wants you to hear Him clearly. This decision will not bring the peace or joy you seek. It will not fulfill the longing in your heart. You may feel pulled in different directions, unsure of which path to take. But God is trying to give you clarity. He wants to prevent you from walking into a situation that could bring heartache, disappointment, or confusion. The people around you may be pushing you toward this choice, or you might feel internal pressure to move forward quickly, but God is urging you to wait, to pause, and to listen to His voice. You've been on the verge of making this decision for the past 3 days, and it has taken this long for God to get this message to you because He wants you to be absolutely sure this is not the path He has chosen for you. God's persistent voice, how He speaks to us over time. God speaks in many ways, and He often gives us multiple chances to hear Him. Over the past 72 hours, He has been sending you signals, trying to get your attention, trying to speak to your heart. It might have been through a conversation you overheard, a Bible verse that popped into your mind, or a sudden feeling of unease about the decision you are about to make. These are not coincidences, these are divine warnings. Think about the moments in the past few days where you felt a hesitation, a pause, or a check in your spirit. Maybe you tried to ignore it, or maybe you rationalized it, thinking it was just fear or doubt. But God has been using these moments to speak to you, to warn you, to gently turn you away from a bad decision. His voice is persistent because He loves you too much to let you walk into danger without warning. God often speaks through the still, small voice inside of us, the one that nudges us to reconsider or to pause before we act. But when we're caught up in the busyness of life or the urgency of our emotions, it can be easy to dismiss that voice. Right now, God is asking you to listen closely, to be still for a moment, and to hear what He has been trying to tell you for the past 72 hours, understanding the battle. Why you're being tempted to ignore God's message. Why is this decision so tempting? Why are you feeling pulled to go through with it, despite the warnings from God? The truth is, we often face our greatest battles when we are on the verge of making decisions that could either draw us closer to God or pull us further away from Him. The enemy knows this, and he will do everything in his power to distract, confuse, or tempt you into making a choice that will lead you down the wrong path. Right now, you are facing spiritual warfare. The enemy doesn't want you to hear God's message. He doesn't want you to stop and reconsider your decision, because he knows that if you make the wrong choice, it will hinder your spiritual growth and your walk with God. This is why you've been feeling the pressure to act quickly, to move forward without fully considering the consequences. But God is greater than any temptation or distraction the enemy can throw at you. He is speaking to you with urgency because he sees what the enemy is trying to do. He sees the trap that is being laid, and he is calling you to stop, to reflect, and to seek his wisdom before you take another step. What happens if you ignore this message? God's message is clear. You are making a bad decision by abandoning or ignoring this message. The consequences of walking forward without His guidance could be significant. If you choose to ignore what He is telling you now, you may find yourself facing difficulties that could have been avoided, heartache, regret, and unnecessary struggles. God's warnings are never meant to scare you, they are meant to protect you. He sees what's ahead, and He knows that this decision could bring pain or frustration that He doesn't want you to experience. He wants to shield you from harm and guide you toward a path that will bring you peace, joy, and fulfillment. Ignoring this message means choosing your own way over God's way. It means walking in uncertainty, without the assurance of His protection and blessing. But when you choose to listen to God, even when it's hard, even when it means waiting or saying no to something you desire, you open the door for Him to lead you into something far better than you could imagine. What should you do now? How to respond to God's message? Now that you've received this message, what should you do? The most important thing you can do right now is to stop and pray. Before you make any decisions, bring your concerns, your questions, and your doubts to God. He is waiting to speak to you. To give you the clarity and wisdom you need, here's what you can do right now. 1. Pause and reflect. Take a moment to pause. In the rush of life, it's easy to make decisions quickly without fully thinking them through. But God is calling you to stop and reflect. Consider the decision you are about to make. Is it really in line with God's will for your life? Have you taken the time to seek His guidance, or have you been moving forward based on your own desires and emotions? 2. Pray for wisdom. James 1 verse 5 tells us that if we lack wisdom, we can ask God, and He will give it to us generously. Right now, ask God for wisdom. Ask Him to show you the truth about this decision. Pray for discernment to see clearly whether this is a choice that will lead you closer to Him or further away. 3. Listen to God's voice. God is always speaking to us, but sometimes we're too distracted to hear Him. In this moment, ask God to help you hear His voice clearly. He may speak to you through Scripture, through a sense of peace, or even through a trusted friend or spiritual advisor. Be open to hearing what He has to say, even if it's not what you expected. 4. Be willing to change course. If God reveals that the decision you are about to make is not in line with His will, be willing to change course. This might mean letting go of something you've been holding on to, or it might mean waiting when you want to move forward. Trust that God's plan is better than your own and that following His guidance will lead to greater blessings in the long run.